Late November in the suburbs of St. Paul, Minnesota. The crisp chill of early winter swept through Summit Avenue, where stately Victorian mansions stood lined like sentinels of a fading era. The air smelled faintly of chimney smoke and wet leaves. Ginkgo trees, their branches half bare, whispered in the wind as fallen gold and amber leaves swirled across the pavement. Among those elegant homes stood the Carters' imposing two-story residence, its red brick facade immaculate, its windows glowing softly in the afternoon light. A brand-new Lexus RX gleamed in the driveway, catching the last glints of the sun. Elizabeth Morgan stepped out of the car, heels clicking confidently on the concrete, phone pressed to her ear. She called out with barely contained excitement, "Mom, you won't believe it, I just landed a $1.5 million property from a new client." "Oh, that's wonderful." Patricia Carter appeared at the entrance, arms open wide. She wore her signature cashmere sweater from Nordstrom and a strand of pearls that caught the light just so. Her smile was polished, practiced, but her eyes glimmered with genuine pride. "Your father will be thrilled," she added, ushering her daughter inside, careful not to let the November chill invade her perfectly heated home. Meanwhile, across town at the Regent's Hospital Care Facility, Jennifer Wilson sat under the hum of fluorescent lights, meticulously updating her elderly care records. The scent of antiseptic lingered in the air. Jennifer had been in charge of her parents' medical care for over a decade, a duty that had long ago blurred the line between love and obligation. Though quiet and unassuming, her steady hands and tireless dedication earned her respect among the staff. "Thank you for your thorough work as always, Wilson," her senior nurse said, stopping by with a smile. Jennifer returned it gently. "Thank you. That's the end of my shift for today." She slipped her pen into her pocket, straightened her navy blue scrubs, and exhaled a tired sigh. The snow had begun to fall lightly as she exited the facility, small flakes melting instantly on her warm cheeks. At her modest apartment near K.O. Park, the warm glow of the kitchen greeted her. 10-year-old Lily sat at the counter, face flushed with excitement. "Mom, look," she exclaimed, holding up a tray. "I tried a new cookie recipe I saw on YouTube." The cookies were slightly uneven, but their chocolatey aroma filled the air. Since losing her father in a car accident 2 years ago, Lily had learned to find joy in the smallest victories. Baking had become her way of staying close to her dad. He used to surprise her with homemade pancakes every Sunday morning. "They look delicious," Jennifer said, embracing her daughter tightly. Her salary as a nurse, $65,000 a year, barely covered rent, bills, and tuition. But what she lacked in luxury she made up for in love. Their small kitchen, with its second-hand toaster and chipped mugs, felt more like home than any mansion ever could. Across town, however, the Carters' living room buzzed with a different kind of energy. Elizabeth sat on the couch, scrolling through her phone, her manicured nails glinting under the chandelier. "My boy got another perfect score in math," she boasted proudly. 12-year-old Tommy sat on the leather sofa, eyes glued to his iPad, barely acknowledging his mother's praise. Across from them, Robert Carter sat with his newspaper, the same article read and reread until the print began to blur. The early signs of dementia were quietly spreading through his once sharp mind, though no one dared to admit it aloud. Patricia, meanwhile, busied herself with dinner plans, her phone pressed between shoulder and ear. "Elizabeth, darling, let's make this Thanksgiving extra special this year. I've ordered a butterball turkey and those imported wine bottles your clients love." Her voice carried the same nervous energy of someone desperately holding together the illusion of perfection. The truth was, between medical bills and Elizabeth's mounting credit card debt, the Carters' affluence was mostly a facade. Jennifer knew it. She'd seen the unpaid invoices and late notices while managing their appointments, but years of quiet distance had turned understanding into silence. By dusk, the sky had turned lavender over the rooftops. In their small apartment, Lily held up a handmade card, smiling brightly. "Mom, look, I made this for Grandma and Grandpa. I'm going to give it to them at Thanksgiving." The card was simple, hand-drawn flowers, a small heart, and the words, "To my beloved Grandma and Grandpa," written in careful cursive. Jennifer's heart ached. She knew how much Lily missed them, how every drawing was a small hope for family warmth. Thanksgiving Day arrived with a thin veil of frost across the lawns of Summit Avenue. Jennifer's used Honda CR-V pulled into the Carters' driveway, surrounded by sleek luxury cars. Lily, dressed in her favorite plaid dress, carefully balanced a homemade pumpkin pie on her lap. "Mom, do you think Grandma and Grandpa will like it?" she asked softly. Jennifer smiled, though her heart wavered. "Of course they will. You made it with love, that's what matters most." They stepped out into the cold, the wind brushing against their cheeks. Lily clutched her pie and handmade card, her small hands trembling slightly from both the chill and nerves. When they rang the doorbell, a maid opened it with a polite but distant nod. "Please, come in." Inside, the home gleamed with curated perfection. The table sparkled with fine china and Williams-Sonoma linens. Martha Stewart-style decorations framed a scene that could have been pulled from a holiday magazine spread. The air smelled of roasted turkey, cranberry glaze, and faint traces of expensive perfume. At the center of it all sat Patricia, radiant in pearls, her posture as rigid as ever. Around her sat several unfamiliar faces, Elizabeth's clients, all in designer suits and cocktail dresses. The table was set for 8. "Grandma," Lily's small voice broke through the polite chatter as she rushed forward, holding up her pie. Patricia's expression stiffened. "Jennifer, we have special guests today, important clients from Elizabeth's firm," she said coolly. "It's not really the best time." Jennifer blinked. "We were invited, Mom. It's Thanksgiving." Elizabeth smirked from across the table, glass of wine in hand. "It wouldn't really be appropriate, would it? Having people like you here, it might send the wrong impression." The room fell silent. Lily's face fell. "Grandma, where are our seats?" she asked, her voice trembling. Patricia hesitated for a moment before saying softly, "These seats are for family." That word, family, hung heavy in the air, sharp and cruel. The guests shifted awkwardly, pretending not to hear. No one spoke up. Lily stood frozen, still clutching her pie. "Mom," her voice quivered, tears pooling in her eyes. Jennifer took her daughter's hand. "Let's go, sweetheart," she said, her voice calm but heavy with hurt. They turned toward the door, the sound of their footsteps swallowed by silence. The warm pie, still fragrant with cinnamon and nutmeg, was left behind on the side table, forgotten, like the love it represented. Outside, the evening sun had already dipped below the horizon. The Honda CR-V started slowly, its headlights cutting through the gathering frost. Inside the car, Lily cried softly, "Mom, did I do something wrong?" Jennifer's throat tightened. "No, honey, you did everything right. You're perfect, just the way you are." The golden leaves outside fluttered in the fading light as they drove away, the mansion shrinking in the rearview mirror like a memory best left behind. A week later, the quiet stability that had barely held the Carter family together finally broke. Patricia was rushed to the emergency room one frigid evening after collapsing in her kitchen. The sterile lights above flickered faintly as the heart monitor beeped in anxious rhythm. A doctor in a white coat approached the two daughters waiting outside, his voice calm but firm. "Her blood sugar levels have spiked dangerously high," he said, glancing at the chart. "Who has been managing her medications until now?" Elizabeth hesitated, her designer purse clutched tightly in her hand. "My sister," she began, then stopped, swallowing her words as guilt settled heavily on her face. In the corner of the hospital room, Robert sat slumped in a chair, his eyes clouded and unfocused. He kept murmuring the same question over and over, his voice trembling. "Patty, what day is it? Patty, what day is it?" The nurses exchanged quiet glances. His dementia, once mild, had worsened sharply under the stress. By the next morning, the hospital arranged a meeting with a social worker. The air in the consultation room was thick with tension. Papers rustled. The social worker spoke softly but firmly. "Home care is no longer feasible in this situation. Your mother's condition requires 24-hour professional supervision." Elizabeth's eyes widened. "But such expenses." Her voice cracked under the weight of fear and denial. "I understand," the social worker continued gently, "but the insurance coverage is limited. The family will need to share the remaining costs." At those words, the color drained from Elizabeth's face. She stared down at her manicured hands, unable to speak. Her glamorous world, the luxury real estate listings, the high-end cars, the branded handbags, and her son's private school tuition, had all been built on fragile credit. Behind her confident image was a mountain of debt. Jennifer sat quietly beside her, listening. She already knew. For years, she had seen the truth Elizabeth worked so hard to hide. A few days later, word spread like wildfire through the local church and neighborhood. Whispers followed Patricia's hospitalization and the family's financial strain. The Carters, once a symbol of prestige on Summit Avenue, were now the subject of gossip and pity. Meanwhile, in her small apartment near K.O. Park, Jennifer was baking with Lily after dinner. The kitchen smelled faintly of butter and cocoa. Lily, standing on a stool, mixed dough in a glass bowl with all the concentration of a young chef. "Mom, these cookies are for Grandpa," she began, then paused, her lips pressing together. She kneaded the dough harder, her small hands trembling slightly. Jennifer placed a hand on her shoulder. "He'll love them when he's better," she said softly. Days later, Jennifer ran into her mother in the hospital hallway. Patricia looked pale and tired, her once carefully styled hair now loosely pinned. "Jenny," she said weakly. Her voice had lost its sharpness, her pride stripped away. "I wanted to see you, that day. She struggled, her throat tightening. "I was wrong." For a moment, Jennifer couldn't speak. All the years of exclusion, of favoritism and cold silence, flashed before her. The ache she had carried for so long burned behind her eyes. But she took a steady breath and replied quietly, "Mom, let's talk about Dad's care first. We'll have time to talk about the rest later." Patricia's lips trembled. "You've become so strong," she whispered. Outside, snow began to fall over the streets of St. Paul, coating the trees and roofs in white. Winter had arrived, sharp, cold, and unrelenting. Yet, as Jennifer stood by the hospital window, watching the flakes drift down, she felt something shift inside her. It was time to stop resenting the past, time to protect what she still had. That night, Lily baked another batch of cookies. "Mom, I added the vanilla scent Grandma likes," she said proudly. Jennifer smiled, hugging her tightly. "She'll love that." The scent of vanilla filled the small apartment, a fragrance that seemed to promise peace after years of quiet storms. Sometimes, pure kindness, especially from a child, could reach where words could not. No one knew what the long Minnesota winter would bring, but somewhere between grief and forgiveness, love had begun to thaw the frost around their hearts. Christmas Eve morning. A blizzard-blanketed street, pall in white, the wind howled through narrow streets, and the bells of the Cathedral of St. Paul echoed faintly through the storm. Jennifer was preparing breakfast when her phone rang. It was her mother, her voice panicked and trembling. "Your father left the house," Patricia cried. "He said he was going to buy Lily's cookies." Jennifer's blood ran cold. "What? In this weather? When did he leave?" "About 30 minutes ago. I dozed off for just a moment." Before Jennifer could respond, another call came in. "Elizabeth." Her voice was equally frantic. "I've reported it to the police, but they said it's hard to search in this blizzard." Jennifer quickly turned to Lily, who stood frozen in the kitchen doorway, eyes wide. "Mom, Grandpa went out for me?" Jennifer knelt, gripping her daughter's hands. "Don't worry, sweetheart, I'll find him." She threw on her winter coat, the keys shaking in her hand, and told Mrs. Johnson next door to watch Lily. The Honda CR-V crawled into the storm, its headlights cutting through thick, swirling snow. The wipers struggled to keep up, squeaking against the windshield. By the time Jennifer reached Summit Avenue, visibility was nearly zero. Patricia stood crying near the front door, her face red from the cold. Elizabeth, wrapped in a designer coat and fur-lined boots, was pacing with her phone pressed to her ear. "Dad's been talking about going to Target lately," she said, ending a call with the police. "No," Jennifer said softly. "He goes to the old bakery Lily loves, the one with the blue awning." The sisters exchanged a look, one of quiet realization, and set out to search. Snow piled high around the cars, and Elizabeth's Lexus soon got stuck on an unplowed street. "There's no way that old bakery would be open in this weather," she snapped, frustration bubbling over. But Jennifer barely heard her. She was remembering her father's routines, The way he'd always taken the same route through town, rain or shine, just as he had walked to school when he taught there. Her phone rang. A hospital number. An unidentified elderly man has been brought in, said the nurse. Suspected hypothermia. Jennifer's hands tightened on the steering wheel. I'm on my way. At Regent's Hospital, chaos filled the air. Nurses hurried between rooms, and alarms echoed softly. Jennifer spotted her father, pale, frail, his hands trembling as he clutched a small, frost-covered bakery box. Dad, she whispered. Lily, cookies, he rasped, barely conscious. Patricia gasped. Elizabeth covered her mouth. For the first time in years, the three of them stood together in silence, stripped of judgment, stripped of pride, just a family watching love and regret entwine. The doctor's words were firm but kind. Continuing home care is too dangerous. He'll need full-time professional supervision. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. But my savings, she murmured. She didn't finish. They all knew it was gone, drained by Elizabeth's endless financial needs. Jennifer exhaled slowly. We'll figure it out. Together this time. Together, Elizabeth repeated softly, lowering her gaze. Just then, the door creaked open. Lily entered the room, clutching a small tin box. Grandpa, she said shyly, I made these for you. They taste like the ones from the bakery. The scent of vanilla spread through the room again. Robert stirred, his eyes fluttering open. Lily, he whispered, thank you. Patricia sobbed quietly. Elizabeth, her mascara running, took her sister's hand. We lost sight of what mattered, she whispered, but not anymore. Jennifer nodded. Then let's start over. Outside, snow continued to fall, heavy, unrelenting, but inside, there was warmth, the kind that didn't come from heaters or blankets, but from the fragile rediscovery of love.